If your book isn't selling, it may not be the book alone, it might be the business around the book. And I know that that is not something most writers want to hear, because we want to focus on the writing, the characters, the world building, and all the fun stuff that comes with writing. Not email lists, marketing, backlist, how to build a funnel. Those kind of things freak most authors out, and I hear you on that one. But if you're an indie author, all of those things matter. So I studied the survey result from over 1,346 indie authors because I wanted to know one thing. What are the high-earning indie authors doing differently? Is it luck? Is it talent? Are they writing faster? Or is it actually a pattern that you and me can learn from? Spoiler alert, there is a pattern. But before we get into things, I wanted to say something important. This is not a video that is like 7 steps to become a 6-figure author. No, it is not. That would be really dishonest. I do not make 6 figures from my writing yet, and chances are that neither are you since you're watching this video. The truth is, indie publishing is hard, and most authors don't earn a full-time income from their books. Some authors earn a little, some authors earn a lot, but the thing is, we can actually look at the people who earn a lot more than us to learn from them and see what they are doing that we're not doing, so that we can start doing that ourselves. And survey data like this is never perfect. So you will have to try things your own way and see what works for you, because you and me are different, and what works for me may not work for you and vice versa. So let's dive in and look at the patterns. What are they doing that we can learn from? So the first pattern is not a very glamorous one. It is the size of the catalog. You can see in the survey that the people with a bigger catalog usually tend to earn more money. What does this mean for you and me? What it actually means is the fact that if you've written one book or you're writing your first book, don't think about, no matter how the launch goes, don't think about that as, don't pin your entire career on it. Because no matter how that book sells, it's only a stepping stone until, to build an entire career. You will probably have to write a lot of books until you will become successful. So make sure to actually put an effort into building your backlist. I am currently doing this myself, trying to release at least 2 books each and every single year. And so far, so good. It is going well, but that is because I want to build a backlist, both in Swedish and in English, to grow a readership long term. The reason why catalog size makes a difference is the fact that if you have multiple books, every book becomes another doorway into your author world. And if your books are connected to the genre, series, theme, audience, or promise, then that one reader can become a repeat reader. This is especially powerful in fiction. Say, for example, that you write a book that is a romance book, and you have multiple standalones that also are romance books. If they like the first one, chances are that they will dive in and read the second one straight away. And if you write a fantasy trilogy and the reader likes it, they will of course dive in and read the second one straight away. Or if you write a cozy mystery and the reader likes the protagonist, chances are that they will continue to want to read about. That is why I think that the biggest mindset shift for new indie authors is this. Your first book is just the beginning of your catalog. That does not mean that your first book doesn't matter. Of course it does. It is a huge milestone on the road for you to become the successful author that you want to be. But you can't, host your entire hopes and dreams on that one book. Because most of us, our first books is just, splash a drop in the ocean. Not that many people will read it, or maybe they will, but maybe they will, in the long run. There are a lot of successful authors out there who only had a small readership until all of a sudden book 5 or book 7, that one took off, and that meant that their entire backlist took off, because the readers who liked book 5 also started reading the entire catalog of books. So remember that. And the second pattern is connected to the first one, and that is the fact that series really, really matters. And this does not mean that you have to write a 20-book series. You can start with whatever you feel like, but we can see that a lot of successful authors who make a lot of money, they tend to hone in a lot of those a lot of money from the fact that they write in series. So when it comes to author income, series are very, very powerful. And the reason why is because series create high read-through. And what that means is the fact that when a reader finishes a book, they will continue to buy the next one straight away. And that in itself changes the economics of things. So what you should think about here, if you spend a lot of time and money on people just, getting people to read your first book, if you don't have a second book that comes after that, or a series or whatever it is, if there is nothing after that, then you've wasted a lot of money. But imagine instead if you take a lot of time and money to get them to read book 1 in a 5-book series. Now that is actually worth the investment, because chances are if they're your target audience and they really, really like your book, they will not only read book 1, but book 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they read all of your 5 of your books, then you have a reader who loves your work and will probably recommend it to all of their friends. This is why romance authors write standalone, interconnected romance books, myself included. A New Chapter by the Canal is just the first book in what will be an interconnected series about expats. They will all have some sort of romance in it. Some will be lighter on the romance, some will be more dark romance. But since I have personally traveled a lot when I was younger, and I have a lot of experience in that is a big inspiration for me. So I want to write romances that connects to that. And this is also why cozy mystery authors often build a long-running character or setting, or write within within a shared world. And even if you're a non-fiction writer, you can build a ladder where all of your nonfiction books are connected to each other, so they build an entire package. Or they're like, when you're at this stage you should read this book, or when you're at this stage you should read this book, because then it will be valuable for readers over time. And the takeaway from this is try to think a little bit in reader pathways. How can I lead the potential reader into a pathway so that they will read a lot of my books? Because if you're watching this video, chances are that you want to earn money from your writing and you want to make this into a long-term career, just like me. So this is why we need to start thinking a little bit more like this. And I want you to ask yourself, if someone loves this book, what should they read next? And the third pattern is the email list. And this one is huge, okay? High-earning authors tend to treat their email list like a sort of infrastructure. And I know that some of you want to turn off this video now because you don't want to hear it, you don't want to build an email list. But hear me out, okay? This is very important. It is not just a nice little extra, okay? And it's definitely not something that you should start one day in the future when you're already famous. You should start it right now, before you're ready. That will give you time to learn how to craft a newsletter that works for your target audience. And I think this is one of the places where a lot of new authors actually gets distracted, because they will focus so much on no, I only have 300 followers on TikTok. No, I only have 200 followers on Instagram. It doesn't matter. That's like living on borrowed time, because you don't own the contact information for those people, and the algorithm changes all the time. So it's not even sure that you can reach those people without paying the platform in the future. We don't know that. But with an email list, these are people who have signed up to you, and they have said that, yes, I am interested in hearing from you. And also another thing is the fact that, when we're just scrolling on our phone, we are usually, half-mindedly looking at something. We're not leaned in, as we say in marketing, but we're just, trying to get entertained or whatever. But when we're reading an email, there are not as many distractions. So when people actually are sitting down and reading an email, you don't get the distraction. They can't just slide on to the next one as fast. Email is not a gamification the same way that social media are. So people will tend to be more focused when they're reading an email, which also makes it worth more than someone just seeing your post on Instagram. A small email list can actually be more valuable than a large following on social media sometimes, at least when it comes to you selling more. Because the fact is, an email list, that gives you a way to tell the readers about new releases, send pre-order links, invite ARC readers, send bonus content, and promote your book when book number 2 comes out. And also it will build a relationship over time between the launches with your readers. And if you're thinking, I don't have anything to say in my newsletter, think smaller and get inspiration from other authors. Sign up for other indie authors' newsletter and see what they're sending out. But also have in mind how you are reacting to those emails. Is there any email that is particularly good or one that you would just throw away? Those that are good, try to get inspired from that and learn from that. And you can send the process. My advice would be to send one email each and every month to start with, because then you will show up continuously and not just show up when you have a big launch. Because that is also one thing that I see some authors make the mistake of doing. They will grow an email list, but then they will only send out an email every 6 months or once every 2 years, because that's when the next book comes out. But if you do that, chances are that the potential reader, they're not what we in marketing call a warm lead anymore, but they have forgotten the fact that they're on your email list and will be like, what is this? And will probably just put it in the spam folder. So that is why you need to show up continuously over time, because that's how you keep the reader warm and interested in what you have to give. But you also need a reason for a potential reader to actually join the newsletter and for you to stay in touch. So if you're a romance author, maybe you will give them an epilogue that is not in the book about the characters, or a bonus chapter. Or if you write fantasy, maybe you will offer a prequel to the story, like I did with Library of Eternity. If you sign up for my newsletter on Substack, you will get the short story for free. But it can also be stuff like a bonus map, something that has to do with the world, something that just gives a little bit of extra wow factor so that they feel special, because they are special. If you write nonfiction, maybe it is a checklist, a workbook, mini guide, or a chapter preview that you offer them. But an important point is the fact that emails in themselves they're not a magical cure for you to sell more books. You need to work on it over time, and remember the fact that high earning authors tend to have an email list, because that builds a direct relationship with the reader instead of relying on platforms to show their posts. So the beginner version here is very simple. Start an email list before you're ready. The fourth pattern is packaging. And this one might get a little bit uncomfortable, because now we're not only talking about the fact that visibility is a problem anymore, but sometimes you have a lot of visibility. Maybe you're performing great on social media or wherever you're showing up, but people still aren't buying. And what we see with high earning authors is the fact that they tend to package their book as if they were traditionally published. This means that they will, an example here with my upcoming romance novel, the Swedish version, I have a cover designer who illustrated my cover. I had another designer illustrating the sprayed edges of the book, and I decided to go with a silver foliage for the book to make it more premium, to make it stand out, and to make it more of a collector's collection edition of the book, because I know that this packaging is something that I myself would buy. But in Sweden, we tend to listen a lot to audiobooks, especially in this genre. So I wanted the physical book to stand out in a way so that people wanted it in their bookshelves. But I will also offer the book in the different formats that are most popular here in Sweden. I am currently narrating the audiobook in Swedish, and I have done everything with the ebook as well. And the thing is, sometimes people are seeing your book, but they're not buying it. And then you may have a packaging problem. And that is a hard pill to swallow, I know. But we as authors need to hear this sometimes, because readers cannot know how good a book is until they buy it. They will judge the book by its cover, and they will judge the signals that the book sends out. The cover is a signal. The title is a signal, the subtitle is a signal, the book description is a signal, and what people are saying in the reviews are signals. Everything matters when it comes to this. So, think about which categories, if your book is a great fit within the genre that you're writing in. Does the formatting look professional? Is the branding within the entire series coherent, and does it look good? If any of these signals are unclear or off genre or unprofessional, readers may not take the risk of buying your book. This is why high-earning authors often invest in serious covers, editing, blurbs, and presentation. Because the cover is not just there for decoration. The cover is positioning. It will tell the right reader, this is a book that you will like. And the same when it comes to the blurb. The blurb is not a summary. This is a sales pitch. This entire thing is a sales pitch. It sells the book, and it might sell you if you're writing about yourself as an author down here. So you need to take the time to make it as good as you possibly can. And the same thing when it comes to editing and proofreading and those things. The more professional you make it and the more you work in advance, to the best of your ability here. I am not saying that you need to buy everything and that it will ruin you money-wise, but you need to have this at the back of your mind, that when you can afford it, then maybe you will go back to your old books, to your backlist, and hire a professional to create the cover of your romance books or whatever it is. And editing is not just about removing typos, it's about creating trust and making the reader experience strong enough so that people will come back to your next book. So if your book isn't selling, don't just ask, how do I get more people to see it? I want you to ask yourself, does the cover clearly signal what genre it is? Does the blurb create a desire for people to read the book? Does the first page actually pull the reader in? And does this book fit within the genre? Can it stand next to other books from the same genre and actually fit in and look coherent? And the fifth pattern is the fact that high-earning authors tend to use marketing systems, not just random promotion. And let me explain the difference here, okay? Random promotion looks like this. You post whenever you remember. You say, come buy my book. When you panic, you run a discount without a plan. You try an ad before your book page is ready. You post on 5 platforms for a week, but then disappear completely for 3 weeks. You chase what everyone else is doing. Systems look differently, okay? If you've created a marketing system, you will have a plan. That means that when your potential reader sees an ad or sees your social media post or hears about your book from another reader, they have a clear pathway on where they're supposed to go next. They may land on your book page, on your website, on your newsletter, sign up, or wherever you want them to go. But you need to have a clear way there, and you need to understand what kind of posts lead to where. Because this is why marketing is a profession, because not all posts should go to the same place either. But you will have to experiment a little bit and learn along the way. Because the next step after this is to have some sort of call to action. Maybe it is come buy my book or sign up for my newsletter or whatever you want them to do on that landing page. But you need to have everything, all of those things clear. High-earning authors are not necessarily doing every tactic once, but they tend to understand that marketing is just not one post. It's a system that helps readers move from discoverability to trust and then purchase. And if they like the book, they will become fans and they will tell others to read your book. And this is where beginner authors need to be careful, because you can't just look at a 6-figure authors with 20 books, Facebook ads, direct sales, and a giant newsletter and think, I need all of that by Friday. You won't have that by Friday. You need to start from scratch and have a beginner version of it and learn along the way. This is a journey. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And for you, that might look like this. Maybe you write in one genre, you have one strong book page, you have one email sign up, one reader magnet that you offer to potential readers, one main discoverability platform, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, one review plan, and one next book plan. And maybe from your TikTok account, you will lead people, you will point people to the reader magnets that you're offering them. That is a great way to get people on your newsletter and to build trust over time so that they will buy the book when it comes out. If you're new to marketing, remember to build the foundation first. Pattern number 6 is diversification. High-earning authors are often very strategic about how and where they sell. Some authors tend to use Kindle Unlimited, other authors go wide. Some authors double down on audiobooks or ebooks or whatever it is. And here you need to experiment to see what works for you. I am currently in the experimentation phase of building my author brand, which means that I have one book in Kindle Unlimited right now in English. I am narrating my own audiobook for the Swedish version of the romance book I'm written. And I know, like, in the Swedish market, I will have to have preferably all my books as audiobooks because, as I said before, we are huge on audio listening here in Sweden, but we barely read ebooks at all. So we either have audiobooks or really nice special edition books, more or less. I mean, there are, of course, people who read ebooks here as well, but it's not as popular. But when it comes to the international market, that's where I need more experimentation, because I think that some of the books that I write might fit in Kindle Unlimited, but some of them may not. Or some of them, maybe I will do an English audiobook for. I don't know yet, but I am experimenting to see where I fit with all of this. And I think you should have this kind of mindset too, a little bit of a growth mindset, where you will try something and learn from it. But once again, this is where a lot of beginner authors get very overwhelmed, because they will study successful authors and be like, okay, I should do Kindle Unlimited, I should only focus on my ebooks and this and this. But then they will see another author who is wide and who focuses a lot more on ARC readers or whatever it is. Get inspired by others and try. With each and every single book that you publish, you have a new chance to try new tactic and double down on the things that work for you. Because what works for you may not work for me. And with some of these things, like some subgenres are super popular in audio, some are super popular in special editions. You never know, so you have to try. And also remember to ask yourself, what stage am I in? Because if you only have one book out, your job is to make that book look professional, to get some reviews online, to start building an email list, but most of all, just focus on writing the next book. And if you have 2 or 3 books out, maybe your job is to improve the read-through of those books, strengthen your series branding, and test different kinds of promotions to get more people into that book series. But if you have a larger catalog than that, then this is probably the stage where I would start doing a lot more paid ads and start focusing on actually driving a lot more traffic to my books. And I will also think about the fact that, if I should bundle my books, if I should try TikTok live shopping, I don't know, but try different things. But one thing I want you to take with you here is, if you're at the starting stage of your author careers, don't copy the high-earning authors who have 20 books out already, because you're not there yet. You should look at the people who are just a few steps ahead of you and mimic what they are doing, because they have already made the mistakes that you will fall into otherwise. And the final pattern is mindset. And I think this is one of the most important ones, if I'm honest, because high-earning authors, they tend to treat their writing and their authorship as more than just the writing and publishing books. They treat it like a business. And the fact is, especially if you're an indie author, you're not just an author anymore. You're a business person, a solopreneur, who have to think like a business owner sometimes. And I get that this is scary, but it really doesn't have to be, because it provides freedom in a way also, because you get to make all the important decisions. On the contrary, if you're traditionally published, chances are that they will make a lot of decisions about your marketing budget, maybe even your cover and stuff like that you can't control. But now you're in full control, which means that you create your own success and you can experiment a lot more to see what works for you. And I don't mean it in a cold, soulless way. Authors should not think about art versus money or whatever. Don't think like that. Try to think of it more holistically, because I think that authors need to stop pretending that the business side has nothing to do with their authorship. This can all feel very overwhelming, but also very empowering. Because if something is not working, that means that you have the chance to improve it. Okay, you can improve your cover, you can improve your blur, you can rewrite the book, you can change it, you can proofread it once more, you can write the next book in the series, you can study your genre, you can build a readership of the time, you can test new hooks. You have all the power to try whatever you want. And I would say that the takeaway from this study is the fact that high earning authors don't just happen overnight. They build their author career strategically over time. And that is what I think that you should do and I should do as well. And how do we do this? Well, the craft really, really matters. So does the catalog, the packaging, the emails, the marketing, reader trust, and the writing of the next book. So if you're a beginner author, here's where I would start. First of all, write the best book that you can. Secondly, make sure that the packaging tells what kind of genre it is, what kind of book, what the reader promises. Thirdly, build an email list, even if it's tiny. Fourth, think beyond the book. What is the pathway you want to read more of your books? Fifth, learn a marketing system before you try everything. Have a plan with your marketing. And the last, most important advice is treat your author career like a long-term project, not a one-day long. Because the difference between the low-earning authors and the high-earning authors may not be the qualities of the books that they write, but rather the fact that high-earning authors have a system and a mindset that is more professional when it comes to their books. So now I'm really curious, what part of the author system needs more work for you? For me personally, I think I need to look at my marketing pathways and have a clearer plan, because right now I have too many websites, I have multiple newsletters, and too many platforms that I'm active on, when I should probably be focusing more on writing. So I'm gonna try and take my own advice. And if you want more videos about self-publishing, book marketing, and building a sustainable author career, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Talk to you soon. Bye.